Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming on this wonderful afternoon. This is a presentation of the campus projects that were funded by the LRC Instructional Innovation Grants awarded in the spring of 2019. This is sort of a postponed presentation that was originally scheduled to take place in late spring of 2020. COVID happened, and due to the pandemic, rather, we were unable to coordinate these presentations, but hopefully, thankfully, we're all here now, and we are ready to share our ideas and our accomplishments. Without any further delay, let us jump right into it. Our first presenters today are Aleksandar Boskovic and Milica Ilicic, who teach the Bosnian Serbian Croatian program. They will be talking to us about their project, which is an elementary Bosnian Croatian Serbian digital textbook, which they began developing as a result of our grant. And here, what I mean by beginning the development is they're in stage 1 of that process. I believe that they're currently in stage 2, but I will not get too far ahead of myself. Please give a warm welcome to Aleksandar and Milica.
Well, thank you, Simon. I think I'm going to start, and I just want to share with you a little PowerPoint presentation. So I hope you see all of you see this. Okay, so this project that we are, both Milica and I are going to present today would not be accomplished with an amazing effort and enthusiasm of my colleague and graduate student, Milica Ilicic. And I just want to put it out there that she deserves the biggest credit. And I feel really, truly lucky to work with her on this project. So what we're going to do today is we're going to switch between two of us representing it. And first, I will just say a few words about our longue durée project that lasts since 2018 that we've been working on. And then Milica will take over and say what are the main changes, innovations, and implementations in the curriculum design and authentic language materials that we brought to this stage 1. And then I'll say a few words about how we use these materials that we developed, digital textbook in classroom today. And then Milica, if we have time, will say a few words about the stage 2 that we are currently working on. So let me just say a few words about the language itself. So Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian is the most widely spoken South Slavic language. It's spoken in 4 different countries: Bosnia, Croatia, Montenegro, and Serbia. These are 3 different language standards that share much more than 90% and differ in less than 10% in their vocabulary and some grammar structures. So this language has been taught through Columbia Shared Course Initiative since 2015. And we worked a lot to appropriate the only existing textbook that is available on the market that addresses all 3 different languages, to appropriate that textbook for a shared course initiative language environment, learning environment. There was no improvement in the field of literature, namely that textbook that is existing is the only one. It is written by a linguist, so it puts a lot of emphasis on technical fine points and grammar rather than on conversation and practical usage of language, which is requested by the majority of our students and is suitable for communicative approach that we cherish here at Columbia. From that desire to change that situation, our project spring, and let me first say a few words about this whole project. Namely, we received the explorationary grant in 2018. And then this exploratory grant pushed us to develop the first, second, and third application for language resource grants that, as you can see, last from 2018 to the current day. With this first grant from 2018, we developed something that is called Language Learning Companion. That was the resource of the materials that was accompanying the initial textbook. And this learning companion was used in the classroom during that academic year. However, we still used that textbook that was in the printed form. And some of the goals that we developed in this language learning companion was to use this design to give a more accurate portrayal between these three standards. We addressed also, we did this communicative approach, right, of grammar and vocabulary to be related to the real life situations. And we put a lot of emphasis on visual clarity of grammatical material and exercise tasks. We care to develop materials that would be easy to use for both instructors and students. And the element of interactivity was important so that students can type in the documents or the materials that we developed. A part that was important was to include visuals, because the book that we worked with was printed without or almost without any images, and all images that were included were black and white. We were also caring a lot to adjust these materials for the digital and long distance or distance classroom setting. There were some challenges and solutions and improvement, but to sum it up, this project brought a lot of innovations such as color coding, self-check exercises, illustrated vocabulary, fill-in exercises, grammatical exercises that show new grammar and are easily used by the students that can refer to that grammar structures. There were also explanations of grammar structures that were much more simplified for the students, not written for someone who is studying linguistics per se. And visual identity of the whole document was really important. And Milica found a really good designer who helped us to come up with the final product. Because this was a companion to the existing textbook, there were a lot of references to the existing textbook that we used. So I'll show you some of the images of how that language companion looked like. With a very successful design, we were able to put together the grammatical explanation and exercises to include a lot of course, images, and to have much more fun, let's put it that way, explanations of the grammar structures that are easy to or more easy to memorize than it was previously the case. A lot of these explanations were still kept, of course, because we are talking about elementary level, were kept in English. The book, however, had, as you can see here in the upper left corner, had a lot of spaces for students to type in their responses, and in that way the materials were interactive. We included some texts and images that are authentic, that Milica and her team that she was closely collaborated took for us, and we were able to use it. Further on, the whole learning companion was proven really successful, but what we wanted to do apart from this developing student skill across these 3 language standards, we wanted actually to develop a digital textbook that would be independent from the printed materials. And we were thinking about reorganizing the whole curriculum, lesson plans, and language companion materials, and eventually to develop interactive website that we will include both the workbook and the textbook. What we did in the stage 1 that Milica will present today in more detail is that we developed with a second LRC implementation grant, we developed this digital textbook, and we reorganized the language companion materials. And in this second phase in which we are currently in, which is stage 2, we are developing a workbook and putting all the materials on this website that, if we have time, we'll address later on. But I'll give the floor to Milica here to tell us more about the innovations that we implemented in this stage 1 of digital textbook. Milica.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having us. Thanks to Simon for the introduction and generally for the opportunity to do this. It's been quite a ride. As you've seen, we've worked on this for 3 years and finally nearing completion. So Sasha's described everything that's been going on in the first couple of years, and we are now at the stage of finalizing the digital textbook that, as we said, we were going to reorganize both visually and in terms of the syllabus, the curriculum. I'm just going to run you through some kind of general goals that we had. Well, first of all, we encountered, as is often the case, that some things that we thought the learning companion would do better are actually like not working the best in the classroom. Actually, notably that we thought that if we put the big format for the screens, just adjusted for the screens that we have in our classrooms, that would be the best. However, that's proven to be kind of cumbersome because people had to zoom in, and it was not very well suited for laptops, tablets, and so on that students actually use at home. So we had to truncate the design. We also found that having like big lessons made the PDF files that are very rich in images and interactive content made them heavy, harder to open. So we broke that up, partly also because we wanted to chunk up the material a little bit so that we can introduce it more gradually, give students more time to sort of summarize and sit with the content, because that was part of the issue that we've seen with the pre-existing textbook. We've come up with a couple of other interactive solutions that we can use in the PDF, and we've improved somewhat the visual sort of navigation. It's like a clear visual identity, more consistent labeling of all types of content, and you just like make sure that as many things as possible are accompanied by illustrations that tell students what's going on. We've also introduced more English into explanations because we found that, for instance, translation exercises have proven to be useful. And so we went back a little bit from having it entirely in BCS and sort of leaned into the English a little bit more. So in the old in the learning companion, we also had an accessibility issue, which is that if you notice, so here, the circles that mark, this is how we coded the different standards. So this is the blue circle is Serbian, the red is Croatian, and the yellow is Bosnian. However, that's not accessible to people who are colorblind. And so nowadays, ooh, where's my, okay, there it is. So here's the new version as you can see, we have now a circle, a square, and a triangle, so that we have both the color and the shape. And this is like also the new kind of layout that I mentioned, where everything's like much more suited for a laptop screen, and it sort of looks much bigger and nicer. I think the main challenge that we've tackled in this stage, rather than like, so we already had like a good bit of the design, for instance, like these kinds of tables, the grammatical tables are just copied with minor modifications from the existing learning companion. So what we're actually doing is reorganizing the material in such a way that it's more, like, it's better paced for students to incorporate that into their practice. One example that I often like to use is the pre-existing textbook, the old one that we use that's not ours, introduced the genitive case in one fell swoop. The genitive case in Slavic languages is notoriously difficult, both in terms of endings and forms, and also in terms of how it's used. And the previous textbook introduced that all in one lesson to be covered over the course of 2 weeks. It introduced the singular as well as the plural, and about, I think, like up to 9 types of use, the context where it is used. So that was very daunting. And it did not, we found that it didn't really sink in with students, which is kind of to be expected. So what we did for the textbook is we chunked that up a little bit across the semester, so that just they're building on their knowledge, and they have a little bit of diversity, and like a more, what ideally what we're striving to do is in each lesson to introduce one sort of noun related thing and one verb related thing, and sort of alternate so that they have, and then we introduce every 3 or 4 lessons, we're looking to get something that's very light in grammar, and we do a lot of revision. So that they actually, there's over the course of the curriculum, there are things that are paced specifically designed for, to give students time to actually integrate an amount of grammar. Then we actually cover like a very, like a big, a large amount of grammar in the first year. So that's something. We are now doing the website, which is super fun, but I want to show you very briefly how we're doing it. So this reorganization obviously is like a very daunting process, like things that used to be very well organized in the first learning companion just now have to go all sorts of places. So what happens is, like, we used to have, like, for instance, a text that accompanies a certain grammatical element in the lesson, going to a store or whatever. And if we already had the genitive in lesson, say 5, in lesson 6, we're able to use it freely. However, if you chunk up the genitive and you take some of it out and you distribute it across coming lessons, you have to take it out in each previous instance so that it does not appear before each and every function is introduced. And similarly, if you take something like forward, if you move something up into the earlier part of the semester, you have to make sure that it appears consistently with every coming lesson, so it like builds onto each other. The way we did this is with a couple of things. This is Scrivener. It is brilliant. Scrivener is a program that's built for big written projects. It allows you to look at, like, upload a bunch of files of all types and to look at files side by side, cut them up into pieces and sort of drag and drop these little chunks. So what I would do is I would cut up basically each and every lesson that we had from the learning companion into these elements that we had. So this is the exercise, this is the grammar, and then I would drag these chunks from one piece to another as needed, do like little wherever needed, amend things and so on. So this really helped just with the practical, how you just sort of it's actually saved a lot of time just figuring out where things should go and making sure that things are not lost. Another thing, obviously, this is the inevitable Excel table. This is the vocabulary. Every time we finish a lesson definitively, we introduce all the new vocabulary here, and then we can use the sort function in Excel to do various things. For instance, I want to sort by word type and like where it appears in the lesson, and then alphabetically. And that gives me, like, when I'm typing up a new text and I want to use some adjectives, I can see where all the adjectives are up to, like, say lesson 7. This is all the adjectives I have so far. Or lesson 10, say. Like, this is all the adjectives I have so far. Everything else I want to use is new, so I know how much vocabulary I'm introducing and what vocabulary I need to revise. If I do it by lesson and then by word type, what we get is a table that we can easily export. This is all the vocabulary in lesson 1, sorted by word type. We copy out this table, and you have the vocabulary, like a little summary of vocabulary for each individual lesson. Cool stuff. Grammar. This is the old table that allowed us to, like, track where things go. This is the new table in a program called Notion. That's a much better categorization system. It has, like, a lot more tags. Again, sorted by lesson, what was introduced, what was not. We have a master list of all the grammar that we had in the Learning Companion, so that we make sure that nothing is lost as we introduce things. And with these tags, we're able to filter out, say, like, okay, what kind of morphology have we, what's the order in which we've introduced everything that relates to tenses or gender, say. Well, yeah. So this will give us all the gender related things and all the lessons where grammatical explanations of all of this appears. So that's what we've been doing. This is what I've been up to with all these little programs. And now we're building the website. Basically, I'm just going to very quickly show you what it looks like. It's, if I do say so myself, pretty cool. And now we have, say, all these exercises, all these PDFs that we've built. They live here. The vocabulary that's exported from the Excel file, I just showed it here. We recorded some audio exercises, and this is the fun stuff. And you can do this kind of stuff, and then check. The students can check themselves on the website itself, which is a lifesaver. This is another one where you can mark words, like mark the correct word. This is fill in the blanks, all these sorts of things that we're very, this is a kind of a flashcard exercise, all these kinds of things that we're used to kind of having in the analog format, we're now able to build digitally once again, because we've already built not just the PDFs themselves and written up a lot of materials, but because we have them in this kind of very clearly organized form that we're able to track a lot of the stuff that's happening and work more efficiently. So that's kind of the workflow that I thought I'd introduce. And I'm going to give it back to Sasha to just who'll tell you how that actually is working out in the classroom, because we're piloting all of this at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Milica. This is great. I think you saw a little bit backstage how the whole process looks like, and Milica found these amazing programs that are super helpful in keeping the track of not losing the materials. That is very important. I'll just say that the main goal for this project was to enhance communicative approach, right? And to kind of have everything in one place, all the materials in one place. So what I want to show you, just really brief, how it works, how this textbook works in the classroom when we practice, basically, when the students are practicing the materials. And I hope that you see this, and I'll just play. Well, should have worked, but now it doesn't work. Mainly students are, yeah, well, probably it's going to be hard to find that place now.
I think it's on, I think it was on 51.
Is that true? Okay.
I think so.
U nedjelju idem u Bosnu Ravi, gdje ideš u ponedjeljak?
U ponedjeljak ujutro idem u sat.
Ravi, idem gdje? And so on. But students are not only like reading it, but using those exercises as models to produce in language, right? As in traditional classroom, how it would work in traditional classroom. Because we are running out of time, I'll just stop here. But if you have any questions, we are here to respond. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Milica. Thank you, Aleksandar, for your presentation. Very inspiring, very cool, lots of work. If there's one way in which I can summarize it, is that as phenomenal as it all looks right now, there's still some work to be done. But let's not forget that it all started with a simple idea that was kind of iterated over time. Things were being added to it. And so, in case some of you may be thinking, okay, well, this is just, there's no way that I can do this kind of work, given the amount of time that I have. Well, there's no such expectation, right? Just these kinds of things take a lot of time to develop, sometimes years, significant resources, but, it could be done with enough of dedication and consistency. So I wanted to just offer that by way of a summary. We do need to slowly be shifting towards our second presenter, but perhaps if there's one or two questions that we can take, maybe we can take them now. So if there's anything that you would like to ask Aleksandar or Milica, please raise your hand. Okay. Mariam? Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you both. That was actually really inspiring for those of us who are always looking for ways to make our materials better and are short in availability of textbooks. But I was wondering if you can just talk a little bit more about the tools you use to build the materials.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I'm just having a thought, like, do you think about the tools in technical sense or?
Yeah, what you use to build the exercises, for example, the fill-in exercises. And also what you use to make that. So for example, the grammar sheets have both the grammar notes and then the exercises incorporated in them. That is really, yeah.
Milica, do you want to take this to respond this?
Sure. Do you mean in the PDF files themselves?
Right.
So what we did for the PDFs actually was find a graphic designer who works with a program called, is it InDesign, something like that. So what we did was, I think we have a slide over here somewhere. So what I did for the first iteration, and I do that now as well, is give her something like this. No, wait one sec. So give her something like this that's in Word, which is something that we all know we do, like those of us who are sort of under-resourced. And so I would draw her a table. I would tell her this is a fill the blank thing. And then she would take that and make it into this. The tools are, so these are the capabilities of the sort of like that this is a fillable blank. They exist in these kind of more advanced design programs that work with then export this to PDF. I would suspect that it shouldn't be that hard to use if you don't want the whole the bells and the whistles of the images. We were very lucky to cooperate with Ivana Adamovic, who's our graphic designer, to create this wonderful looking thing. But essentially, this is kind of so this is kind of the more advanced thing. I will say I would say that the best tool that we used was just pulling community support. We tapped into a community of speakers and of native speakers, because this is a less commonly taught language. I feel like there's a lot of people who are invested in, when you tell them about a project like this, they're like, oh yes, definitely, this is something that I want to help with. So we had people help with the graphic design. We had people help with audio exercises. So we have all three standards spoken. We had people take photographs that we need, with people shaking hands that we can use. And when you say hello and stuff like that. And by people, I mean my brother, who's and his friends, his high school friends. So we actually, I think the greatest tool that we had is just this, it really does take a village. And so yes, the grants are great, and there's a lot of work that we do on our end. There's a lot of software that we use, but there's also the support and the help of people who rallied around the project, which is something that I think both Tasha and myself are the most grateful for.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I would add to it just that these materials, and share with you these materials are made to work best in certain programs. For example, digital textbook works perfectly in Adobe Acrobat Reader, where you can write and check and change, etc. And even these boxes for the right and wrong answers are activated well. Some other programs, like online programs, are opening these files, but they are not working so perfectly with them. And one more thing that our designer came up with is that all these images that she's been using and adding to the digital textbook are open source. And important thing that the materials that we developed are as well open source. So they are available across the globe, which I think it's good for popularization of the language.
Abdul, go ahead.
Sorry, could you unmute yourself?
You should unmute. Abdul?
We don't hear you.
Mute myself. Here we go. All right. So my request is very quickly. Could you please, if it's okay, to share the person who was helping you, your tech person who was helping you, the designer that you were talking about? Because some of us are having a hard time finding some designers, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not, I would, so it's ideally the designer would speak your target language. So she is figuring out what to do, she understands what you're saying. So I don't think our designer would be the best fit for you, but later I can talk to you about how to find, how to sort of where to look for someone who will, who's within your language that you teach.
Okay.
The truth is also the price range. What we could afford in the United States wouldn't get us far.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're outsourcing to the third world, essentially, which that's kind of one of the few benefits.
Thank you guys. Thank you for your questions. If you the audience participants have further questions or comments or remarks you would like to make, please, in interest of time, write them down. There should be some time left after this next presentation to return to Sasha's and Milica's contribution and to ask those questions and to make those contributions. With a bit of a delay, I would now like to introduce our next presenter, Sandeep Singh, who will be talking about a similar project, also a set of materials for the teaching Punjabi as a foreign language. He likewise, or similarly to Sasha and Milica, developed a platform that could be either used as supplementary thing or a self-sending textbook for the study of the Punjabi language and culture. Sandeep, I will go ahead and make you a co-host of this presentation.
Thank you so much.
And give the floor to you.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I would like to extend my thanks to Chris and Simon, definitely. LRC, because, they gave us this opportunity. So otherwise it could not be done in that way, because, I've been teaching up here for the last 18 or 19 years. Since then, I've been seeking to develop like such type of material, which is going to be really very handy to my students, no matter what they're in the class or like out of the class. In both environments, they could do such type of exercises or do some like a kind of activities, whatever the activities are assigned to them. Even though like in this type of environment, such as like during the pandemic time, right? It could not be possible if my student, Sukhman Preet, he would not be there. Because, I was going through a really very challenging time. Because, I got this grant in last year, which was really good at that time, and it was moving really smoothly. But somehow the student who's working with me, she was from Columbia University, and afterwards she was taking like so many courses and she had to quit it. Eventually at the mid, I spoke to Mr. Sukhman Preet from Yale University, and most of the work was done by him. I would like to thanks to him. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible. So we have like a kind of different target up here. If I'm going to show you, I would like to show you the regular textbook in my presentation. Let me stop this one. Why do we need this actually? So this is the very traditional like kind of text which I've been using for this. You can see this, right? So it was really very traditional. I don't think so. Let's see if I'm going to assign anything from this textbook and the students. I have to do a lot of things in order to make this more interactive, or like to do like those type of exercises on at home or in class. So all these things, it was really very challenging for them. So that's why I was thinking, even though like a few years ago I started the same program and I spoke to the department and they granted me, somehow I could not be successful. At the end, last year was like I was granted, and now I got a chance. And this is the website I was basically, me and my student, we developed it, which is a really good one. The first thing I would like to talk about the language, because this is the language which is spoken by more than 130 million people. Not only in the Eastern Punjab, it's also in the Western Punjab. You can call this Western Punjab is now like a kind of the part of India. It's like, if you look at the chart up here, the picture up here, so half of the Punjab is in Pakistan. So let's see, 75% people in Pakistani Punjabi people, they speak this language. And the rest of the Punjabi, they speak in this. This is the like old time picture. But still now, if you look at the population is more than 130 million people, they speak this language. So definitely we need to develop like such type of material for the many people, all right, who are speaking. And also another thing is, why do we need this? Actually, the need is this. We are not just targeting the eastern part of the language, because if you develop such type of material and you're gonna target the all Punjabi speakers, then you can go across, such as like in Bosnia, right? It could be the language is used like in a different countries with a different, I don't know, like a different dialects. I'm not pretty sure about that, but we have a different script in Pakistan, but the language is same. So my further goal is this, because I would like to introduce that script also in this material. So which is gonna give another expansion to this project. So this is gonna be another goal. So in LRC is just now they're introducing only the Punjabi language from Eastern perspective, or from the Eastern side of Punjab. Now in the future, they can offer this language from both Punjabs, which is gonna give us like a wide area, and we're gonna get more students rather than from the Eastern side. So we had so many challenges. One challenges we faced, like there's so many hurdles when we're developing this, and I would like to say thanks Simon, because he helped me a lot. He has so much patience. Thank you so much. And Chris is also he's really very helpful. Shasha, thank you so much. You gave me so many so much guidance about that. So about this, how to get it done. Basically, if you look at this, this project, it could not be possible like if my student Sokman, he's not gonna work on these type of exercises. For example, we had a big problem to create like these type of charts up here. Another thing is it's really hard to explain in other phonetic alphabets, right? For example, my script is different, and you need to explain all these things in different phonetic alphabets. And how are you gonna pick those phonetic alphabets to pronounce all those sounds? It's gonna be a big challenge for us. So we have to specifically pick those phonetic alphabets to represent the same sound, whatever the sound is pronounced in our language. So this is another challenge, and afterward we have to put like these type of graphs, which is really hard for us. And another challenge was to create the quizzes and the flashcards, like these type of exercises was done. Basically all these things, my student, he's gonna explain all these things. For example, because during the pandemic time, I was not able to go outside because I have a big family. I'm living in a joint family, right? So if I'm gonna go on it could be like I could bring the virus, and it could happen to my family or someone else. So that's why I thought like it would be better to take all these pictures at home and use them. So we took a lot of pictures and organized them and put into the quizzes or the flashcards. This is really beautiful. If you're just gonna turn in this one, then you can listen to the sound, right? So you can see the vocabulary words, and the students, they can do at home, right? Then you can just give a challenge test to them or the quiz to them, which is really good. And along with this is, if you're just gonna scroll down up here, right? Then you can just go to the vocabulary. So we have each chapter, we developed like different tabs and the different challenges, which are really very interactive for the students. It's not only in the class. So no matter where they're gonna go, they can use this website. Wherever they said, it's pretty like handy on the phones. So they can play on the phones, they can use on the tablets, right? So this is really good. And also another challenge for us, this is I don't know like with the other languages, but in my languages, because the Punjabi script is not the Unicode. So that's another challenge. If we're gonna write something up here, if you post on the website, sometimes the letters are changed, or like shape was changed, right? It was like a kind of different type of challenges we got, especially with the font. So we need to find the equivalent or appropriate software to keep the same font up there. So these are the basic challenges. I don't know like about the other languages, but mine it was really tough. And definitely, because when I was talking about this in the textbook, so you can just give them an assignment. You can assign like, oh, this is the exercise, you have to do it. But these are the individual, for example, all the time professor cannot pronounce all these things, right? If you're just gonna pronounce it, you can pronounce only once. Then students, they can take this quiz and they can listen the sound and they can match the sound, right? So once they're gonna listen the sounds, then they can match easily with the letters. Like what kind of the sound are they gonna get it from this word? So this is not English word. Basically, these are the sounds we're gonna use up here. So then they have to match the letters. Gurmukhi letters means like a Punjabi letters from here. Then they can check it, for example. Now, which is the letter? They can check it, is it wrong or right? Then they can easily assess themselves. So this is really good, and these are the exercises. Also, like these type of quizzes, we developed a lot up here because, you know, students, they need more exercises with this material. And if you're just gonna click on the each tab, then it's gonna take you to the lesson. First, they have to read the theory, whatever the theory is given up here, and afterward, they're gonna see all the flashcards, everything is given under all the tabs. Each chapter, you can see this. We had to develop at least 6 lessons, but still, I'm on the process because, you know, Simon, we did like more than 6 lessons. We did 7 lessons, and the 3 lessons are already up there. So my intention is to complete all those 10 lessons up here in the future. So it's going to be complete course for elementary 1 and 2. I hope so. So in case if we need to add more, then we will add more. So that's another goal for us. Now I would like to invite my student, and he's gonna share his point of view, what kind of the problems he faced, and how he successfully did this job. Sukhmanpreet Singh, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation, Sandeep. Sandeep pretty much summarized all of it. I guess I can expand more on the quizzes portion of this. I'll share my screen. So one challenge that we faced with the quizzes was how to make them more interactive for the students. So for example, what we did was, if we choose some random quiz over here, we made this more interactive by adding different types of quizzes. So for example, this is a drag and drop quiz. So if I drag this over here, right, to form a correct sentence, it'll tell me if what I did was correct or incorrect, and if it's correct, you know, it'll give the star, and I can move on to the next question, and so forth. And we also had some dictation quizzes where students will first listen, click on the icon and listen to the word that's being pronounced, and then they'll have to type the word itself into the box, and then they can check their answers to see if they're correct or not. So that's one version. So, and you know, there are more types that we have. For example, filling in the blanks, seeing an image and dragging the correct word into the image, you know, drag and match sort of stuff. And all of this was developed using H5P software. So at first we were having some problems because the H5P software was, you had to get a paid subscription to it. It was an expensive subscription. So what ended up happening was that with the help of the technician, we were able to incorporate that software into the website itself. So we could create quizzes on the website without having to subscribe to the software separately. So I thank the technician for allowing us to do that. That definitely made us made it easier on the monetary side. And yeah, so all of these have theories. All of them have quizzes that students can listen to, and do at the at whatever pace that they want to. And I guess one big thing that's missing here is that we were supposed to create videos where we show two students, for example, engaging in a conversation in Punjabi. And for each unit, we would have a conversation, like, for example, for 10 to 15 minutes, like at the market, at school, at home, playing in the field, whatever, to see, for students to see how Punjabi can be used to start up conversations. But of course, because of the pandemic, we had to abandon that plan for now. But hopefully when things get better, we can go outside and do those. On the side here, we have videos that for each unit, these videos will tell students what to expect from this unit. And like, for example, the first one gives an introduction to the Punjabi language. The video on this page will give an introduction to Gurmukhi, a very brief introduction, a preview of what's to come. And right now, this website will suffice for elementary Punjabi 1. So for the full fall semester, this will be a resource that will be used in the classroom. And as Sandeep said, we'll be adding more units here for elementary Punjabi 2. And once those 3 or 4 units are added, this entire website will be, a primary source for the entire year-long sequence. So that's something to look forward to for next semester. And I think that's about it.
Well, thank you, Sakman. Sandeep, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sukman. Pretty much he said everything about us, and at the end, because he said we're gonna do a couple of other things, right? So on the road, definitely we have some goals. We're gonna add some videos up here, so which is gonna be really helpful for the students, how people they conversate, or how people they dialogue with each other when they're gonna be on street, or like in colloquial way, how they talk, right? They don't talk all the time like a kind of formal language or the text language. They have different accent, they have a different way of talking, and their body language is also involved in it. If you're just gonna add the videos, they're gonna help you, basically help the students to learn not on one perspective from all the dimensions. For example, how people they walk, talk, right? So that's another goal for us, I guess. So in the future and the lessons, if the department is going to help us in the future, right? I mean, next semester, then definitely I would like to do that one. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening us. If you have any question, then you can ask us.
Well, thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Sukman, for your contribution. We have another platform here that is pretty well designed. It is very interactive, has a number of interactive multimodal components that make learning more exciting and more motivating. I would like to open the floor now to the rest of you. If there are any questions that you may have, remarks or other contributions that you would like to share with us, now would be the time to voice them. Also, Sandeep, you can stop sharing your screen if you want.
Yeah, certainly. Let's hear it.
Yes, Chris.
Sandeep, I think this is a great way of not just creating a resource for your students, but also showing what you do in your Punjabi class and what it's like to be a student in that class. And I was wondering if you'd ever thought about possibly integrating it with the Columbia language portal, maybe as a form of publicity in a way, say take a preview of what you might be doing when you take the Punjabi class.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to do it. In case if I'm just gonna send you the link, then you could do it, or I have to do it by myself.
No, I'm happy to do it, but I didn't want to do it if you didn't want, say, prospective students to find it if they're not ready to see it or something like that.
So that's really interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. I have a question too, and it is for Sandeep and company as much as it is for Sasha and company, and by that I mean Milica. If I was wondering if you could maybe say a few words about how well or just how received these platforms are by your students, whether they find them useful, motivating, and if you have the information, you have the data available, already whether these things are effective, and if so, to which degree. So maybe let's start with Sandeep.
Simon?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Sure. Basically, what I'm wondering about is how well received your platform is by your students. What have the initial reactions been? Is it something that your students find motivating? Is it something that you as an instructor of the course find effective? If you could maybe say a few words about that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is the first thing, because you know that's what we were thinking, like to finish this project before the fall. At least I can introduce this one in the fall, right? The students, they can just give their opinion or their reviews on it. So far, I've been getting really good reviews on it. Students, they really like these type of interactive, especially like this time. This time is really, really helpful, since they need like these type of website to be developed. I'm not saying like only in Punjabi, other languages as well. No matter what, like is this by the grant, or I think so instructors, they should do like a kind of their own efforts to develop these type of material for the students. So far, yeah, definitely students, they need a little bit more, such as like I was talking about the dialogues or this and that. But whatever the material is posted, they really appreciated this. And yeah, I got a really good response from them.
So the response seems to be good. Do you plan to assess the performance of this instrument, of this platform in any way in the future, to maybe I don't know, compare grades, compare scores, or simply just like evaluative opinions?
Yeah, definitely we could do it, because when we have a Zoom meeting, then I ask all my students, they can take all these quizzes immediately, right, like during the class time, and then you can check the points, and they can share the points, they can share the screen, whatever the points they got it, once they gonna done it, because they can cheat it. Right. So they, yeah, if you can see them on the screen. So this is a really good thing. So then easily you can access them.
Thank you.
Assessing is pretty easy up there.
Okay, Milica, if you could, same question.
Yeah, so I am not the best person to speak about it, because I did not get to pilot it in the classroom, sadly. I know that we did measure it. Sasha would, has the data. We did track learning outcomes. So we've piloted the learning companion as opposed to the textbook for 2 years now. The instructors found it really, really helpful, because because it was organized in a way that like you kind of could plan lessons better and easier. So that was like the first benefit, is just like for the instructor, that you don't have to pull things from different resources, and it's kind of pretty intuitive to navigate. The students definitely seem to find it more engaging, and I could not give you the exact data now because I don't have it. That's Sasha's, but we did find at the end of the year improved learning outcomes in terms of specifically speaking and writing. So they were able to produce more and in a more stable fashion. We're piloting the textbook as we speak right now, so this revised version. So for example, like one thing that we found in the learning companion is that even though we had like the colors and the bells and the whistles and all this stuff, it unfortunately, for as long as we stuck to this like very intense pace of introducing grammar that was in the old textbook, that didn't, the students struggled because we were adding more vocabulary, so they have more communicative practice, but then they also had a lot of grammar, and that just overwhelmed that and didn't work. So that's something we're adjusting for now. And it seems to be working, just completely no quantitative measuring, but I just saw this like this the snippet of the class that Sasha showed. I can definitely tell that at this point in the semester, like about when the last time we taught without this, maybe 3 years ago, my students would not have been able to do anything like that. I mean, this is like the kind of pace, and there seems to be a sort of a security and stability and like figuring out how things are going. The pace, especially for Zoom, strikes me as very good. So that's it seemed to me like just like looking back to like what it looked like 3 years ago, to just have to like switch between different very boring, ill-structured communicative exercises. That's definitely yeah. And the students seem to like it. I mean, like you put colors in it and put some pictures in it, and it's like, it's a toy, it becomes play.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mariam.
Yeah, just a follow up on Melissa's comments. So what did you use to track learning?
So I think we compared the qualities of the final essays at the end of the year. I think that was sort of, we looked at like previously, before we introduced this, and then like what we received like in the final tests, like, so how rich their language was. Again, I didn't do that part because I did not use it in the classroom. So you can follow up with Sasha on that, and he'll have the actual data for both years.
Okay. And my second question, I had to both of you, either one of you. So I've been sort of involved in redesigning my elementary course for the past year. And my focus was really to kind of provide students with materials outside of classroom to sort of get a better grasp at the grammar. And there's a lot of it going on. So taking out the grammar out of the classroom. But I'm wondering, when you were designing these materials, did you think about how much is going to be done in the classroom and how much outside the classroom? Did that guide your design, or how does that work in the materials? How much of it is used in the classroom, how much out?
So Sandeep, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Mariam, basically, when we design all the lessons, right, it's supposed to be like for one module, or like you can say 1.5 module for 2 weeks, most probably 2 weeks for one module. Oh, sorry, for one chapter, or the one tab up there is given, right, one lesson. So if you're just gonna see all the exercises, pretty much like we gave 3 or like six 3 quizzes or 3 other exercises, like 6 things, right? So the students, they can split easily for the 3 classes. So 1 quiz, 1, right, every class. Whatever the material or the theory is not that much, so it's not gonna be easy to convey them. So we just keep according to the class. It's not like whatever the material I have in my book, right? Or I'm just gonna put it up there, and that's the students, they are responsible to read all those things. I just try to give only that much material, whatever they can read it, and afterward you can easily assess them according to the material.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as for us, I'm just going to show you some slides that we did not get to because that really, there's a bit of a workflow for the class here that Sasha is currently using. So we have these, like when we were designing, the way we would structure the visual distribution would have like, this is the grammar that we're introducing, and this is the exercise where they can just apply, say, the endings for the accusative case, and they could do this at home. We would assign grammar for home and have the homework done already for the grammar, which would leave the class for questions and clarifications if needed. And having done that, we would continue into into conversation practice, written practice, and so on. In the next phase, as we migrate to the website, which is something that's, the kinds of exercises, I think we're using the same program, the same plugin, Sandeep and I, to create these exercises. They can be done at home and they can be repeated a certain number of times until the students get it right. And so you do away with the grammar, just for as much as possible, and leaving the classroom for communicative practice and sort of production of verbal. And also I would say another thing we had in mind is that these self-check exercises, so these are not self-check. What you're looking at right now in the PDFs, they just fill it out and we still need to check them, right? To make sure they typed in the right thing. But there are these, the check boxes, which are actually quite easy to make in the PDFs, because this is just like, this box is always going to show a check mark and this was always going to show like an X. The program doesn't really know what it's doing. It's just like showing a thing. So this is a self-check exercise. The students can actually like see the correct answer. Once you have that capability, you are also dealing away with the grading load for yourself, which leaves you more time to grade stuff like essays that a program cannot grade. So we get to save a lot of time on lesson prep by doing this. We get to save a lot of time on teaching grammar, as dry grammar, and we get to leave ourselves a lot more time to dedicate ourselves to kinds of more rich content that the students really need our input on. So that was our thinking.
So welcome everyone. After our brief intermission, our third and last presenter for the day is Zhongqi Shi, who teaches in the Chinese language program. And his project is complementary to the previous two projects that we have seen so far, in the sense that it is also an online platform designed for language study. However, it is a little bit different because it is developed for students of the Chinese language who are interested in the business world or in business Chinese. In that sense, it handles language for specific purposes pedagogy. And in the presentation, we'll see how Zhongqi and his assistant approached the problem and what they have developed to address it. Without further delay, I will be passing the floor over to Zhongqi, whom I also need to make a co-host of this presentation. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. And thank you everyone for coming back. I'm sharing my screen, right? Okay. So today I'd like to present a website that I created for my business Chinese students, both former and current. So the idea behind this project originated from a visit to Google's headquarters in New York City. About 2 years ago, one of my former students called me and to thank me for writing her a recommendation letter. At that time, she had worked for Google for some time. And during our chat, she asked me, would you like to come downtown and have a tour of the workplace, my workplace? And you can bring your students. I thought, why not? That sounds fun. So we went to Google's headquarters in, maybe show next slide, in New York City on 8th. Oh, I should do this. A second, sorry. So when we went downtown to Google's headquarters on 8th Avenue, 14th Street. It was a great tour. We saw the workplace, and my former student gave a short talk, and we even had a nice lunch at Google's cafe, and it was free. But what really struck me the most was not the trip itself, but how the students reacted. So after that trip, the students kept talking about the trip, the visit, both in class and after class. And several students even mentioned the trip in their final course evaluation. So that got me to think, what impacts this trip had brought to my students and why? And that made me think and wonder what I can do to help stimulate students' interest, excitement, and motivation as the trip did. So that's how I came up with this idea of creating a class website, a website where my students can make connections between what they are learning from the course and real life and work. A place through which they can establish personal relationships, and share what they know and help each other. So this is the idea behind this project. So with funding from LRC and with support from like Simon, Darcy, and Chris, I created this website. Next, I'm going to take you to the website, walk you through the sites, and explain what we can do, and what students can do with it. So I'm going to switch to this website. Okay. Okay. I believe you can see a website, right, called Welcome to Business Chinese. Okay, so this is a home page. Of course, you can log in. First you need to log in. You need to sign up, then you can log in. So the first module of this website is called Study. Okay, so there are 3 components. Okay, the first one is called Vocabulary. So this module, this part, provides field-related business vocabulary. Okay, as you can see, it's a floating window. Okay, this is real estate property vocabulary. We have words in marketing, foreign trading, investment banks. So this part, this kind of learning material will be useful to both my current and former students, okay? Especially for those who have graduated from Columbia and start working. So they know what they need and they want to learn language, vocabulary, specifically relates to their industries. So that's why we organize this part by industry. And to make them easy for students to use as a learning aid, we put all the words into Quizlet. So if students click this link, this will take them to Quizlet. So all the words has been manually added to Quizlet. I'm sure you are all quite familiar with Quizlet. So this is very efficient tool to use. You can just look at the words, check the meaning. You can also do kind of activities on Quizlet. Those are embedded functions. We don't need to do much. We just need to import all the words into Quizlet. But of course, importing takes some time because we need to add them one by one. So this is part 1 of the website called Vocabulary. And the second part is called Culture, business culture specifically. So under this section, we included both Chinese and English texts, articles, papers that I found will be relevant to people working in business workplace. Okay? Most of them are more about business etiquettes, especially focusing on the difference between China, East Asian countries versus the West. Okay, so I'm just showing one. This is in English, easy for you to take a look. Okay, so this is more text. Those are in Chinese. Okay, depending on students' current proficiency. I know some students stop learning Chinese for quite a while. They might want to start with the English and then switch back to Chinese. Okay, this is the second part about business culture. Okay, and the third part is multimedia. So under this section, there are 3 types of videos that I found. One is called business newses. So all these news are quite new, quite recent. So, for example, the first one, I don't know the first one. This is about the Chinese currency. If they click, they can play this audio on the website. Of course, most of all of the videos are from YouTube. This is about Chinese heavy industry. What the impact of the COVID-19 to China's factories, and this is about movie. And another one is about housing. So, and also I found some videos about Chinese etiquette. So in addition to having them take a look at text explaining those kind of etiquettes, we have a section specifically for video demonstration. So they can relate this kind of 2 parts, reference to each other. Another one is more for Chinese locals, Chinese different local cultures, dishes, food, those kind of content, because some of my students will be traveling to China. Those will be useful to them. Okay, so all of these 3 parts are called study. So these 3 parts together, I hope these materials can help attract those former students, inviting them back to this community. By the way, I have been teaching Chinese, business Chinese for 15 years. So many students have graduated from Columbia years ago. So I want this kind of content to be appealing to them, inviting them back to this kind of field, to this community. So this is part of the first component of the website. The second component, what I call is is the forum. Under this part, my idea is I want them to share, especially those who have started working, to share their knowledge or share any suggestions to the current students. I also want them to reflect on a variety of work-related topics. For example, how to prepare for an interview, how to negotiate salary with the boss. So under this section, this is more student-driven. They can initiate the topics. They can make a post or reply to other people's posts under this section. There's not much content here. This is because this is still very. We just launched this last month because of the technical issue over the summer. It took us a lot of time fixing the registration, the password issue. So we didn't launch this until last month. But I believe as more students register, we have more students to share on this forum. So I meant to use this part as a way to connect current students and former students. So in some way, this can serve as a platform to create like a mentor and mentee type of communication. Right now, as I mentioned, I'm in the stage of inviting alumni to join this website. So I want them to make contribution to this site, to this forum. This is the second part of this website. The third part is called social. So I'll put it here. So after students join the website, they can create a group according to their common interest, according to their the same company they work for or same industry they work for. So this will serve as a really nice platform for them to socialize, to develop those kind of informal connections. Okay. So my idea before the COVID-19 hit us, we will have some students to meet, in person. For example, I have many students working still working in the New York City. They both work in downtown, and the companies are quite close to each other. So at first, my idea was maybe they can find a time to have lunch, quick lunch over their lunch break. So this is the third part for this website. Let's see. Okay. But now I already opened this for two of my current students classes. One is called Advanced Business Chinese. The other one is just Business Chinese class. So as I can show you, after you create a group, you can invite other people to join your group, which is really nice function. So for example, you can invite members, you can send invites, you can post what's new under your group. So they can create as many as groups, depending on, how many connections between between them. But I think this will be very nice to have different, relationships between each other. So this is a three major component to this website. As you can see, the learning part is more geared towards, field related content. There will be really nice compliments to my current, textbook, because, there's no one textbook that can cover a different variety of industries. But here, at least they can, study, some words that they are interested in. And the forum will be more like a sharing place. They can share in their questions, their wisdom, their lessons, what they find useful. Okay. And the social part will be have them to making friends or reconnect with old friends through different ways. If we have events, the events will show up here. But right now, there's no event going on. Hopefully, in the long run, we can definitely add more events to here that we can show to everyone. Okay, this is the website. Last, I want to say I really appreciate Simon, Chris, and everyone from LRC for their supports. Setting this up actually took longer than I had thought. As I mentioned, the password setting, that small thing really took us many months to figure out how to do that. It looks like maybe the back end there has some issue with the programming thing, which we don't know how they happened. But at last, finally, we found a way to go around that. So now we can open this website to my both current students and former students. Okay, that's my brief presentation. If you have any question, yeah, let's discuss.
Zhongqi, thank you so much for making the time to share this awesome project with us today. If no one else, well, let's turn to our audience first to see if there are any questions or comments or contributions first. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris, I guess it's kind of a basic question, but I was really struck by the visual component of this website, the photos and the way it's kind of set up as almost like a geographic space in a way. And I was wondering, could you talk about your thought process and how you assembled the visual aspects of it and why you did it in this way?
Yeah, thank you. That was a very good question. I'm glad you asked. When I'm working on this project with my RA, we thought about what kind of feel we want to present to students, especially those who already graduated, because for them, there's no obligation to join any projects. So I want them to to really like those visual things, to feel attracted to this kind of thing. That's why we spend quite a lot of time finding, pictures, videos, and also we want to make sure, those photos, videos work both on laptop and their cell phones, because most of my, most people actually, especially younger generations, prefer checking on their, checking their updates posts on their website, on their cell phone. So we want them to, after they open this website, they will feel like they want to scroll down, keep scrolling, because the visual thing can really keep their attention for maybe extended period of time, not just a few minutes. Yeah. Thanks to my TA, RA. Yeah, he did a lot of work, finding those pictures. Yeah, and I also like the vocabulary part. Yeah.
So the pictures, where did you find them? Did you take the pictures? Did you have somebody take them, or was there a database that you could?
Those pictures were from from a database. I don't remember the name of database. By my TA and my RA. I think those you need to pay for them. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, to get those photos.
Thanks, Zhongqi. If nobody else has any questions right now, I would like to ask a question. So on a number of occasions, you brought up this idea of bringing people or bringing your students in contact, your current students in contact with your prior students, with the alumni of the program, or with the alumni of the Chinese language program. Which is a very nice idea, but I was wondering if you could maybe say a few more words about how you intend to incorporate that pedagogically. What role will it serve? How will it be assessed? Maybe yes, maybe not. If so, to what degree? If you could say a few words to that, I think. A lot of us here present would be very interested to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the question. Those are both good questions. I'm going to use my today's class as one example. Today we were discussing how to shake hands at workplace. So for Columbia students, if they are just the first year, second year, this is a topic that's usually not able to get them their interest, because they're still at the stage where they just hang out with friends. They don't need to really formal way of shaking hands. They don't really, let's say, care about this kind of thing. But when I brought my former students to come back, when they talk about how they used what they learned from the textbook in their actual either job interview or workplace, then the current students will come to realize, what they are learning now might at some point affect their either success or failure on their job search or career path. Okay, that's why every time when I invite one student or two students to come back to share their thoughts, I always encourage them to think about whether or what they have, what knowledge they learned from the course at some stage helped them doing their work. So I'm glad all my students came up with some ideas, such like shaking hands, or someone talk about how to write resume, especially in like Chinese and English, like two versions resume. That is also one of my content of my course. So from their perspective, they can talk about, what's the difference between this kind of two kinds of resumes. So that's, I can really, after their short talk, I can really bring in the pedagogy thing. So talk about why Chinese people look at certain areas, look at more important than other parts. Okay, so in that way, we can really connect what we are, the pedagogy with those kind of talk or networking kind of event. Okay, but of course, for students, I think motivation is really a big part. Once they are feel more motivated, they will start looking, they'll start thinking what they need, what they can benefit from the course. Okay, that's why I think it's very important for them see the connection between what they are really learning from the textbook with what they are going to use for their future. Mm-hmm. I hope I understand you. I answered your question.
Oh yes, you did, certainly. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Let's see if there's anything else, either in chat or there's nothing in the chat. Let's see if anyone else has other questions or comments.
I have another comment, which is, well, actually, I had a question before, now I have a comment. I think that at the LRC, we spend a lot of time thinking about a kind of pathway or pipeline for students as they move through their language career. And it really, I mean, it's also called articulation, the idea of connecting students, maybe even in high school, to something that they might do as they move through Columbia and into a career. And so I think that this is a great example of how we can aid students, not just in a specific semester, but have a bigger, higher viewpoint and say, hey, if you take Chinese or Wolof or Italian or Vietnamese or Spanish, it's not just a class here, but it's actually a whole pathway. And this pathway goes somewhere. It goes to a place that you want to go. And so I think that this is one great way that we can show that to students in a very immediate sense. You will connect with this person. This person is you in 5 years.
Right.
So I just think that it's great that you were able to make that connection that I think many of us want to make.
Right. I agree with everything what you just said. I think for students, today's students will be tomorrow's students, role model, mentor, and everyone actually feel satisfied being in that role, right? When they are learning from another they can pass on their wisdom to next, let's say, younger generation. So that's why every semester I try to reach out to different students, ask former students, see what they are doing at stage where they are. They can really share a lot of things that a teacher cannot do. For example, I have students who switch jobs quite a few times within a few years. I didn't know why. I didn't know what's the thoughts behind those kind of those process. But when that student came in talking about her idea why he switched those jobs and why he jumped from one to another one, I think that those students in the audience really can benefit from listening to those kind of perspective and connected to what really we are really learning from a textbook, which is only one book or two books, from a broader viewpoints. Yeah, thanks for the comments.
Yeah, Zhongqi, between your comments or your answers and Chris's comments, I just had this realization that a platform like that could serve to connect your students to the present, right? The current events, current affairs, where the target culture resides currently, which these kinds of projects oftentimes do. And likewise, there is an emphasis on history of the target culture, the target language, right? In a similar fashion. Now, what your project is doing, and where it's different, is that it not only does that, but it attempts to connect students to the future as well, which it makes it very, very unique and super interesting.
And this year, when I introduced this project to my current students, some of them were very excited. They signed up immediately because, right now students are quite very, job oriented. they want to look for opportunities. They want someone, at least someone who have some commonality with them. And the course can be one of the commonalities between them and their, this kind of alumni. I think they love to meet with them. Unfortunately, right now, what we can do is only on Zoom, which is less effective as meeting in person. But I think in the long run, this can be very useful to students.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Maria.
I just wanted to add to your comments. I agree with everything that was said. And so just more generally, I think an idea like this is great for smaller languages, like, Wolof, the one I teach. I kind of suggested to my students this semester just to deal with the whole virtual thing for all of the levels to come together, and we worked on a schedule to have a social hour.
Right. I have similar stuff. So, social hour with my classes.
Right. Looking at this, I mean, this is a great way of bringing students together, and I think something like this would be just wonderful to have for students, like in these smaller classes. And also reach out to students who are not at Columbia anymore, but who,
exactly.
For me, they actually do stay in touch with me. And
right.
A couple of them were included in the social hour this semester. So I think it's a great way of building a community of learning.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for comments. Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, it is, I think, a minute after 4 o'clock. Got it right this time. We will stick around for a few more minutes. If you guys have further questions, I would like to maybe speak to Zhang Ki one-on-one. If you are ready, you're welcome to leave this meeting. But before you do so, I'd just like to remind everyone gathered here really quickly that there are two more events happening this week. There's an event offered by our colleagues at Yale tomorrow at 12:45. I'm sorry, 12:50. Is it 12:15 or 12:45? Just double check really quick that. At 12, I was right, at 12:45 p.m. Where they will be hosting Dr. Florencia Henshaw from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, presenting on things that pertain to distance pedagogies. The details of that event are available in one of our past mailings, I think the one that came out on Tuesday afternoon. So do take a look at it. As a matter of fact, I can probably also just paste it in the chat right here. So yes, Dr. Henshaw will be talking about successful teaching strategies for online language courses. So kind of a broader, more general topic. Oops, it's not pasting. Thanks. Oh, but Chris already pasted. Thank you so much, Chris. Bye, Chung. And Mariam, it's okay to go too. So if you are not otherwise busy, feel available, do pop in. It's a relatively short event, about an hour, and I think it will be beneficial and interesting to all of us. And then on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, we will have our colloquium, which this week will sort of focus on a discussion. It's going to be more of a check-in point, and where we will exchange what we have accomplished, what we have learned over the course of the semester. I think talk about things that worked, that didn't work, and in general, kind of try to reassess and summarize the first half of this most unusual semester. And then with that in mind, I think that it is fair for me to turn off the recording and to thank you again for your attendance today.